99% of piano players ignore this one thing. It's not about how much you practice every week or how many scales or warm-ups you do, and it's not even about choosing the perfect pieces to learn, but it's likely holding you back from memorizing all the pieces you play, and if you continue to ignore this one thing, it will only become harder and harder to implement in the future. If you just put in 15 to 30 minutes on this every single time you sit at the piano, I promise you, you will see results. How it works is, you are going to sit at the piano, and you're not even going to look at your hands once. The only times you're allowed to look is when you're either completely lost and can't find your way back, or you took a mini break and you are returning to the piano. Now, as I said, this method seems easy enough, but it's not just about knowing what it is, it's about learning how to effectively implement it into your practice to actually see results. That's why I need you to stay to the end of this video, where I go through exactly, step by step, how to implement this into your practice so you can start seeing results within the next week. And I also go through a valuable bonus tip right at the end to help you learn even faster, so don't miss that. How forgetting your hands works is, when you read sheet music, your eyes are computing black shapes on a page into signals for your brain to understand, and in turn send those signals to your fingers. If you're dependent on using your eyes to move your hands, your brain is picking up fragmented data on what's actually going on in the page. Learning how to forget your hands and purely just using muscle memory to find the notes will massively improve your ability to recall patterns accurately and for almost an infinite amount of time after the point of initially learning them. This is because muscle memory, which can only be trained from repeating the same movement exactly the same way for hundreds of repetitions, is much more reliable and deeper rooted than our actual working memory. What's happening when you are continually looking down at your hands is, you are telling yourself and your brain that you don't trust where you're putting your hands, and it's signaling to your muscles that they shouldn't start building muscle memory because you're not even sure if it's correct. Now, this links to a plethora of different issues, which I don't have time to go into in this video, but learning to forget your hands is absolutely crucial for memorizing pieces. Once you've sat down and you're ready to play, what you're going to do is set up your initial hand position and then start playing as slow as it takes with 100% accuracy, all of the notes and in the right order. One important thing to note here is, depending on your current skill level and progress with the piece you're learning, you may have to start hands separately, but that's completely fine because all we're doing is cementing muscle memory. Also, you do not want to just start playing from start to finish, as that will take a very long time to consolidate. Instead, I recommend to aim for between 8 to 16 bars every 20 to 30 minutes or so to memorize. This way you can repeat the same section multiple times over, and it will improve the likelihood that muscle memory will start to develop. Once you've played through your section of 8 to 16 bars with perfect form multiple times, and you're happy with where it's at, you can either move on to another section or you can come back tomorrow, because that's all it takes. Now, what's happening while you are going to be away from the piano, assuming you followed absolutely everything that I've told you in this video, is muscle memory should start to develop. Now, it will be slow at start, and I recommend coming back to it a few days after initially starting, just to continue to build up that good practice. There is one very important piece of advice here. Do not do a week of practicing this way and then start going back to your old ways afterwards, because this will revert all of your progress that you have accumulated up to this point. Muscle memory is all about doing the same thing the same way for hundreds of times, and if you start doing a different thing just a week later, you'll completely destroy all of your hopes of ever developing muscle memory for that section, and you'll be back to square one. Now, once you've repeated this process for learning 8 to 16 bars, and you've gone through the entire piece, you can start to link these sections together. So instead of looking at 8 to 16 bars, you might look at 16 to 32 bars to play in a row. And you should find that you feel a lot less stress from not looking at your hands so much, because the muscle memory should be taking some of the strain. And this is a very good sign. Once you're playing the whole piece all the way through from start to finish, with very minimal help from looking at your hands, you are 90% there. I recommend that you continue to play it all the way through on subsequent practices, just to build that good practice and also to work on getting the tempo up to speed and working on the musicality of the piece, rather than frantically trying to find all the notes. If you have followed absolutely everything that I've said in this video up to this point, congratulations, you have successfully unlocked muscle memory, and your piece should be memorized for a very long time. If you have gotten to this point in the video, it's very likely that you are serious about your playing and want to improve. On this channel, I help people just like you accomplish their goals in music, so if you haven't already, consider subscribing, and let's get straight on into the bonus tip. It isn't just about forgetting your hands though. There is another super important piece of advice which you are missing, and it's stopping you from learning pieces even faster. And that is reading patterns, not notes. When you are learning pieces, looking mostly at the sheet music is just the first step. But what actually happens inside your brain when you're processing that information is just as important. When you are seeing the notes on a page, do not link that position to a corresponding note in your head and then play it. This is just an extra step, which is not necessary, and it results in you taking a lot longer to learn pieces. What you should be doing is finding your initial starting position and then looking at the contour of the notes and how far each note is on the stave. For example, if my starting note is a C and I see that the next note is on the next line up in the stave, I don't have to then think it's an E and then play it. I can just see that the interval's a third and then just go straight to playing an E. This is quite trivial at its basic level, but it develops into recognizing full chords immediately by not even processing the note names, just the shape that it has on a page. This technique is extremely powerful, and it's what professional musicians use all of the time to learn some of the hardest pieces in the world. If you combine these two techniques effectively, I promise you that you'll see a drastic difference in how fast you're able to learn and memorize pieces. Now, these two techniques are great, but if you want to learn how to actually learn pieces in the shortest time possible, you should watch this video, where I go into detail the fastest method for learning any piece.